let's talk about 3 variations of one specific position with reducing levels of stability. Number 1 is we're going to be the split stance position. Now in this position, the idea is that you're having your weight about 90% distributed onto your front foot, 10% of the weight on your back leg as more of a kickstand. Now ideally, we want to make sure that the hips stay even, because if the hip drops out, that's where we can lean and cause a fair amount of discomfort and pain in the hip. So you want to make sure that you keep your hip nice and balanced. To reduce that level of stability, what you're going to do is actually going to be taking that leg off. Now, when you are taking your leg off that kickstand, the goal is to keep your hips nice and balanced. As you can see, the moment I put my foot down, it is the same position that I'm in when I'm doing that split stance position. Okay, so you remove that back leg, you have your one-legged balance, making sure your hips stay even. Oftentimes, people will try to do this, and this results in a fair amount of hip pain and or possible sciatic pain as well. Once we achieve this position, we can remove the stability one more time by adding a little bit more dynamic motion. So keep an eye on my left leg. Every time I step forward, I go into a split stance, I go into a one-legged stance, and then I step through. And what that actually allows us to do is that when we're walking, we need to make sure that we're actually moving at the level of the hips. And if our hips actually jut out towards the side, we actually put a fair amount of pressure on the hip, fair amount of pressure on the back. And so remember, when you're in your kickstand position, there's going to be an even set of hips, one leg up, even set of hips, and then walking, you're having an even set of hips as well. And that's something to consider, especially when we're looking at each one of those positions.